Out of all 269 DC Metrobus routes, one stands above the rest in ridership. That is bus route 70. Northbound buses start at 9th Street and Constitution Avenue, right behind the Natural History Museum. The bus's route is incredibly simple. It runs on Georgia Avenue from a block away from the National Mall in Washington, D.C. to the Silver Spring Metro Station right outside the northern tip of the city. The route is 7 miles and takes about 40 minutes to an hour depending on traffic conditions. As the driver opened his doors, he told us to get on quickly in order to get the green light. Maybe he was running late? He then gunned it through the busy streets, jerking us around. A fellow passenger even remarked that this was going to give him back problems. The first few minutes were through downtown DC streets with their fancy restaurants and upscale shopping, something completely foreign to me. The first neighborhood that we passed was Chinatown. In the 1930s, many Chinese people settled there, turning it into a Chinatown. It flourished for decades, but as we'll see, gentrification over the last few decades has changed many parts of the city, including this part. In 2015, the Washington Post reported that there's only about 300 Chinese people left in Chinatown, who are fighting to stay. The area is now known for the Capital One Arena, which is where the Washington Capitals and Washington Wizards play. The construction of the stadium has been one of the main contributors to gentrification in the neighborhood. Next stop was Howard University and its surrounding neighborhoods. Howard University is a historically black university which many local and student black Americans see as something to be proud of. But this is an area that is rapidly gentrifying in one of the most gentrifying cities in the United States. Despite any intentions, the influx of high-income residents has made it much harder for broke college students to afford any housing near campus. According to Gregory Clay, a longtime resident, new residents have vehemently complained about publicly played music, lingering crowds, noise, and block parties, which are often staples of many predominantly black communities, which for decades this area was a mostly black area. Darnell Latney, who works at the local barbershop on Georgia Avenue, said, "At one time, DC wasn't like this at all. From about the 1990s and before, now everything is so expensive that the average black person can't afford it. Georgia Avenue is a long street, used to be 80% black neighborhood and caters to 80% black businesses. Not anymore. I've seen a lot of black businesses close down in the past 6 years on Georgia Avenue, all because of gentrification. And this dog stuff is another sign of what's going on around here." The dog stuff he is referring to is new wealthier residents who have dogs walking their dogs on campus and letting them poop on the public grassy areas of Howard's property without cleaning it up. Pretty disgusting. I've left a link to the full story down below because this situation is way above my proverbial pay grade. Interestingly, on the west campus of Howard University, which is in a more upper-class, mostly white area, where the Howard Law and Divinity schools are located, dogs and students get along much better. The three reasons are: the much taller west campus is a bit more isolated and more from the more open and sprawling main campus, which of course would draw more foot traffic. The dog owners on the west side appear to be very responsible in picking up their waste material from their dogs, like any person should. The West Campus isn't in the crosshairs of neighborhood-changing gentrification projects, unlike the main Howard campus. As we continue north, we enter the Petworth neighborhood. This area has also been gentrifying, but at a much lower rate than areas down south. You can tell that there's a mix of new and old, both in businesses and buildings. In the past decade, new apartments, a Safeway, and other businesses have been built near the metro station. If DC continues to gentrify post-COVID, I wouldn't be surprised if this area became the new ground zero for the issues that come with gentrification. Continuing farther north, we enter the Brightwood area. Out of all DC neighborhoods, this one has the highest percentage of immigrants. Brightwood also has the highest percentage of Ethiopians at 16% and Salvadorans at 19%. Salvadorans and Ethiopians are the two largest immigrant groups in Washington, D.C. At the intersection of Peabody and Georgia Avenue, there's a full-service Walmart supercenter, the same one you would find in most American suburbs and even rural areas. This surprised me because most cities do not have Walmarts. Back before it was built, there was some scattered opposition to Walmarts in the city, but in the end, it opened in 2013, along with a few other Walmarts in DC. The store sits on a former lot of a Chevy car dealership. I'm happy to say that I did not have any issues traveling from downtown DC to Silver Spring, Maryland, through some of the more rougher parts of the city. I'm also happy to say I didn't see anybody on drugs or tweaking, that were obvious at least, and I only saw a few people that appeared homeless. Most people I saw were just chilling out with their friends or walking somewhere, as people do in cities. Hopefully this isn't too weird to say, but I realized that during the whole ride, as far as I could tell, I was the only white person that used the bus. This particular bus at this particular time, which was about 2:30 p.m. on Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday. Maybe the white people that live along this route don't use it very often. Maybe it being a federal holiday also changed that. Just a little observation I made. As we continue north, we get close to the end of our ride, but I couldn't help notice a bunch of Ethiopian restaurants on the border of DC and Silver Spring, Maryland. Makes sense because the neighborhood right south has the highest number of Ethiopians. Most of the riders got off the bus at the stop right before the metro station. I got off at the Silver Spring metro along with everybody else, and then that began my long trek back home using the metro, and then a commuter bus, and then my bike. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, check out my other ones right up here. Have a great summer. Have a good day.